The storm raged over the dead planet of Varin 6. Red lightning tore across a black sky filled with ash. For centuries, no living thing had survived here. The ground was dry, cracked like broken glass, and the air burned with toxic heat. But far below the surface, inside a buried ruin of steel, something was still alive. The Kortal science team had come to study the remains of this forgotten world. They were tall, grey-skinned beings with 4 glowing eyes and skin that looked like stone. Their ships never carried weapons. They only came to collect data and study lost species. When the scanners found an old human escape pod buried deep under the dust, the Kortal expected nothing but bones. Yet when they opened the pod, frozen mist poured out, and a faint heartbeat was heard. Inside was a human male, covered in scars, face pale as death. The Kortal leader, Director Varun, ordered the pod sealed and sent to the research bay. He said, "We study it nothing more. It is not alive in our sense. It is an artifact." But one young scientist, Serak, could not look away. There was something in the man's face that felt different, something fierce, something stubborn. He leaned closer and whispered to himself, "He is not done fighting." Against orders, Serak began to work. He learned from ancient human records that this one was called Captain Ryan Hale of the Earth Defense Fleet. The pod was from the old war era, nearly 300 years ago. No human should still be alive. Serak connected power to the pod's life support. Lights flickered. The human's chest began to move. A weak breath escaped his lips. Serak froze, his heart racing. He turned to the others. "He lives!" The lab filled with tension. Varun ordered Serak to stop. "You play with death," he said. "This creature's world is gone." "Let it stay gone," Serak ignored him. He kept working until the pod opened with a hiss of cold steam. The man inside gasped for air and fell forward, eyes wide with confusion. His muscles trembled as he looked around. Where am I?" he asked in a broken voice. Serak stepped closer, unsure how to speak the strange human language. "You are safe," he said slowly. "You are on Varin 6. We found you." Asleep, Hale tried to stand, but his body was too weak. His eyes darted around the alien lab, seeing strange shapes and glowing tubes. "You're not human," he said. "No," Serak replied. "We are Kortal." Hale fell silent. Memories rushed back. The battle over Mars, the explosion of his ship, his crew's screams. He had launched the escape pod as his fleet burned. He was sure he had died long ago. How long? "Was I asleep?" Hale asked. Serak looked at the data. "More than 280 years. The words hit him like a strike. Everyone he knew, every city, every family, gone. He stared into the floor, breathing hard. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. The Kortal observed him like they would an animal. They wrote notes and measured his heart rate. But Serak saw something they could not, the strength in Hale's eyes. Even broken and alone, the human was not afraid. Later that night, when the others left, Serak brought Hale water and food. The human smiled weakly. "You saved my life." "Why?" Serak hesitated. "I do not know. My people study life, but you fight to keep it." "I wanted to see why." Hale looked around. "Where's Earth? Do you know if my people still exist?" Serak shook his head. "We have no record of humans in the last 2 centuries. Most say your kind vanished after the solar war." Hale clenched his fists. "No, humans don't vanish. We rebuild. We return." Serak watched as Hale stood, shaky but determined. The fire in his voice made Serak's chest tighten. The Kortal had no words for that feeling, but it made him believe the human's words were true. Over the next days, Hale grew stronger. He helped fix broken machines, told stories of Earth's oceans, and explained what courage meant. Serak listened like a child hearing legends. The other Kortal called it madness. They said the human was dangerous. Then one morning alarms echoed through the facility. A signal was detected, an ancient human distress code repeating again and again from the surface. Varun shouted, "Who activated it?" All eyes turned to Hale. He stood beside a console, his hand on the switch. His voice was calm, If there's still someone out there, they'll hear it. Varun ordered soldiers to restrain him, but Serac blocked their way. "Wait," he said. "Let him try." The old transmission reached far beyond the dying planet, carrying through dark space like a ghost's whisper. As Hale watched the stars on the screen, he whispered to himself, "If humanity still breathes, they'll come for me." Serac looked at him and felt something stir inside, a feeling his kind had forgotten long ago. Hope. Far away, across the endless dark, something ancient stirred in reply. A silent beacon blinked deep in the void. Earth had heard. The last survivor was no longer alone. Humanity was listening. The signal from Varin 6 echoed across space for months. At first, no one believed it. Ancient human codes had not been used for centuries. Many thought it was an old machine glitch, but those who knew the truth kept their scanners silent, afraid of what it meant. On the ruined world, Captain Ryan Hale trained his body back to strength. The alien facility had become his home. He learned to use their tools, study their language, and understand their strange logic. Serac stayed close, always curious about this creature who smiled even in pain. Every night, Hale stared at the dark window of the lab, watching the red storms. "You said there are many empires out there," he asked one evening. "How many of them fight for something real?" Serac blinked his glowing eyes. "None. They fight for power, not belief. Your kind is different. Different doesn't always mean better," Hale said. "But maybe it still matters." Their talk was cut short when soldiers entered. Director Varun stood behind them, his voice sharp. "The Council has decided. The human will be transferred to the Central Science Corps for complete study. He is too valuable to remain with you." Serac stepped forward. "He is alive, not a specimen." "He is both," Varun said coldly. "Our duty is to knowledge, not emotion." Hale looked at Serac, calm but ready. "What happens in this core?" "They will take your mind apart," Serac whispered. Hale smiled slightly. "Then I'm not going." Before anyone could move, the power went out. The room fell into darkness, broken only by emergency lights. Hale moved fast, grabbing a metal bar from a nearby table. He was weak compared to the Kortal, but his will was sharper than steel. He struck a guard's weapon arm, sending sparks across the floor. Serac reacted instantly, disabling the control locks and shouting, "This way!" They ran through cold halls lit by red alarms. Behind them, guards shouted orders in the alien tongue. Serac led Hale to a docking bay filled with small research ships. "You cannot run," Serac said, breathing hard. "They will chase you." "Then come with me," Hale replied. Serac froze. "Leave the Kortal Empire?" "Stay, and you'll be part of the machine that kills everything different," Hale said. "Come with me. See what your logic can't explain." Serac looked at the pursuing guards, and then at the human who refused to give up. He made his choice. "I'm with you." They entered a small scout ship. Hale sat in the pilot seat, scanning the strange alien controls. "These things fly, right?" "They were not made for humans," Serac warned. "Neither was this galaxy," Hale said, pressing the ignition. Engines roared to life, shaking dust from the ceiling. The hangar doors burst open as the ship lifted into the burning sky. Energy bolts followed them, lighting up the clouds. Hale grinned. "Now this feels familiar." As they broke through the atmosphere, Varin 6 vanished beneath them, a red storm fading into black space. Serac watched the planet disappear. "You realize what we have done?" "The Council will call us traitors." Hale nodded. "Then we don't look back." They jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the system behind. The stars stretched into silver lines, and for a moment everything was quiet. Days turned into weeks. Hale and Serac traveled across forgotten regions of the galaxy. They took small jobs fixing machines, trading minerals, and learning new routes. Hale learned about alien cultures, how each empire had grown powerful but cold, ruling through fear instead of courage. He saw how hope had become a myth. One night, while camping on a barren moon, Serac asked, "Why fight for a world that is gone?" Hale looked at the sky. "Because someone has to remind them what it means to care. My people believed in something bigger than survival. If they're still out there, they'll come for that signal. Serac stared at him, unsure whether to believe. Yet deep down, something inside him wanted it to be true. Far across the stars, the signal from Varin 6 reached a listening post near a silent blue planet. Human engineers stared at the ancient code appearing on their screens. It was weak but unmistakable, a call for help from one of their own. Captain Ryan Hale, one officer whispered. Last recorded alive 287 years ago, the message spread through secret channels. The United Earth Command revived old files, names, and fleets. For the first time in 2 centuries, a forgotten order was whispered again. Project Homefire. Reactivation approved. Back in deep space, Hale's ship drifted near a trade station. Serac was resting when a strange signal reached their console. A faint human military ping, bouncing from system to system. Hale froze. "It's them," he whispered. Someone answered. Serac woke up confused. "Who answered?" Hale's voice was steady. "Humanity." As the signal repeated, Serac saw a new light in Hale's eyes. It was not just hope, it was destiny. The man they had saved was no longer just a survivor. He was the spark of something the galaxy had forgotten to fear. From that day on, Hale stopped hiding. He began sending coded messages into deep space, using the same frequency as the ancient human fleets. Each message carried the same words: we endure, we return, and somewhere in the dark heart of the Milky Way, massive engines began to wake. Silent ships, old but rebuilt, started to move. Humanity had heard the call of their lost soldier. The galaxy did not know it yet. But its peace was about to end. The human that should not exist was alive, and his people were coming. Years passed quietly across the stars. The Kortal Empire stopped hunting for Serac and the human he had saved. They believed both were lost in the dark. The galaxy moved on. Empires rose and fell, pirates ruled the edges of space, and the idea of humans became nothing more than a ghost story. But out in the forgotten sectors, a small ship drifted from system to system. Inside, Captain Ryan Hale and Serac lived like wanderers. They took odd jobs fixing satellites, rescuing miners, and protecting small colonies that could not defend themselves. The ship was old, held together by tape and hope, but it was home. Each night, Hale sat in front of the console watching the stars. "Still no answer," Serac said one evening, setting down a metal cup. "They'll come," Hale replied. "Maybe not soon, but they'll come. That beacon is out there, and so is humanity." Serac looked at him with a small smile. "You speak of them as if they are gods." Hale shook his head. "Not gods. Just people who learned never to stay down. The human distress beacon he had reactivated years ago was still transmitting. It traveled slowly, bouncing through systems, carried by old satellites and random signals. No one knew it was still alive, except one machine buried deep in Earth's forgotten defense grid. On Earth, under oceans of steel and glass, a forgotten facility blinked to life. A single terminal lit up in the dark, showing an old message repeating on the screen: Signal Origin, Varin 6. Priority code, Captain Ryan Hale. Within hours, Earth Command reawakened systems that had slept for centuries. The words, "Human Survivor Detected," flashed across every console. Officers gathered around as the message played. The voice was distorted, old and broken, but human. "Signal verified," said a technician. "The code is from the Third Earth Fleet. He's one of ours." The commander of Earth Defense looked up, her eyes cold but shining. "Then we bring him home." From the moon's dark side, old warships powered up, silent giants hidden for centuries. Fleets long forgotten began to move again. Humanity, now united under the banner of the United Earth Command, prepared to return to the stars. But far away, Hale knew nothing of it. He and Serac landed on a moon colony run by traders. The people there looked at Hale with suspicion. Humans were myths, legends told to scare children. A merchant whispered, "He can't be human." "They died ages ago." Serac stood beside him, his hand resting on the blaster at his hip. "He's very real," he said. Hale ignored the stares. "He was searching for something on the local data net. He found records of old battle zones, destroyed planets, and missing fleets. The galaxy learned nothing, he said softly. They still fight. Still enslave. Still forget. That night, Hale and Serac shared a small fire outside the colony. You could hide, you know, Serac said. Live here in peace. Hale looked up at the stars. I'm tired of hiding. The beacon wasn't just a call for rescue. It was a warning. A warning? Yes, Hale said. That humanity remembers everything. The next day, the moon colony was attacked by raiders. Dozens of ships came down from orbit firing on civilians. Serac and Hale ran toward the defense line. Hale jumped onto a mounted cannon and shouted, "Get the people inside! I'll cover them!" Serac joined him, using alien weapons to take down the invaders. The raiders didn't expect resistance. When they saw Hale standing tall, face burning with fury, they hesitated. He looked like something they couldn't understand, something ancient. The colony survived, but barely. As they rebuilt, the colonists began whispering about the man who fought like a storm. They called him the Ghost of Earth. The name spread through the outer sectors like a flame. Weeks later, a smuggler approached them with a datapad. "Someone's looking for you," he said, handing it to Hale. On the screen was a transmission, short, encrypted, but human. The voice was calm, female, and powerful. "To any surviving member of the Earth Defense Fleet, this is Admiral Ilara Kane of the United Earth Command. We have received your signal. Stand by. Humanity is coming." Hale's heart stopped for a moment. He looked at Serac, eyes wide with disbelief. "They heard it. After all this time, they heard it." Serac smiled faintly. "Then you were right. The beacon was never forgotten." Hale clenched his fists. "If they're coming, the galaxy will change." In the dark of space, fleets began moving silently. Massive carriers, armored cruisers, and ships bearing the blue and white emblem of Earth crossed the void. Their engines glowed like new stars. Alien empires started to panic. Pirate lords went into hiding. Some called it rumor, others called it prophecy. But the words spread fast. The humans are returning. Back on his ship, Hale stood before the window, watching the stars. "They saved one of us," he said. "Now they'll see what that meant." Serac turned to him. "What will they do when they arrive?" Hale's eyes were hard but calm. "They'll remember, and they'll decide if mercy was a mistake." The beacon's light reached its final destination, a fleet so vast it darkened the stars. The ships turned toward the outer rim, their guns silent but ready. The forgotten beacon had done its job. Humanity had heard. And now, the galaxy that once pitied one dying human would soon learn what it meant to wake a sleeping giant. The galaxy had grown used to peace, a fragile kind built on silence and fear. Empires ruled by power, not honor. Slavers controlled the trade routes. The weak paid tribute to the strong. No one remembered a time when anyone fought for what was right, but then it began. At first it was whispers. Pirate fleets vanishing without a trace. Slave stations found empty, their guards gone, their prisoners freed. Entire convoys destroyed by unseen forces. No one saw the attackers, only the mark they left behind. An old symbol burned into the walls of ruined ships, a blue and white crest. A human insignia. The Kortal Empire tried to ignore the stories. Their council called them lies, made by smugglers. Yet deep inside, many remembered the name humanity. Once long ago, that race had burned across the stars like wildfire. And now they were back. Serac and Hale had been following the rumors for months. Every destroyed base carried the same mark. Serac watched a holo display showing the locations. "They're striking faster," he said. "Every week another outpost gone." Hale nodded. "They're testing the borders, learning who's still a threat. You think it's your people?" Serac asked. "I know it," Hale said quietly. "Only humans fight like that." They landed on a neutral world called Jantor Prime. The markets were filled with frightened merchants. Alien soldiers whispered in corners, passing warnings like secrets. An old trader stopped Hale as he walked by. "You?" the alien said, staring. "You look like them. The ghosts, the ones who strike from the dark." Hale smiled faintly. "Then maybe the ghosts have come to finish the job." That night, news reached the planet. A massive fleet had appeared near the Harkon cluster. Thousands of ships, all broadcasting a single transmission. The message was short and clear. United Earth Fleet sector secured. The galaxy froze. The Kortal Council held an emergency meeting. They returned to claim vengeance, one elder said. We must prepare. Director Varun, the same leader who had once ordered Hale's capture, looked shaken. If the stories are true, he said, our weapons will not be enough. We should open talks before they open fire. But pride ran deep in the Empire. The Council refused. They had forgotten fear. Meanwhile, Hale and Serac traveled to the edge of a war-torn system. There, amid debris and smoke, they found a destroyed slave carrier. Bodies floated in space, but among the wreckage was something different. A message burned into the metal hull. We remember. Hale touched the mark, his eyes dark with emotion. They've come for everyone who forgot what mercy means. Serac looked around. Do you think they will spare the innocent? No one's innocent anymore, Hale said softly. The galaxy let this happen. It watched. As they prepared to leave, their sensors detected incoming ships, fast, heavily armed. Hale's instincts took over. Those aren't traders, he said, gripping the controls. Moments later, pirate vessels surrounded them, broadcasting in rough Kortal tongue. Surrender your ship, human, and maybe we'll let your pet live, Serac hissed, his skin plates tightening. They know who you are, Hale smiled coldly. Then they know what's coming. He powered the engines, diving straight toward the largest pirate cruiser. Energy bolts lit the sky as Serac manned the weapons. The scout ship twisted and spun, dodging fire, returning shots that sliced through enemy shields. When the last pirate ship exploded, Serac let out a shaky breath. You fight like death itself. Hale looked out the viewport at the burning wrecks. I fight like a human. After the battle, their sensors picked up a signal from deep space. It was encrypted in an old Earth code. Hale's heart raced. He opened the channel. A hologram appeared, a woman in a dark uniform, eyes sharp and steady. Captain Ryan Hale, she said. Admiral Ilara Kane, United Earth Command. You are officially listed as missing in action. Welcome home, soldier. Hale stood speechless for a moment. You got my signal. Every word, the Admiral said. We've been preparing for years. The galaxy thought we were gone. Now we remind them who we are. Serac bowed slightly. You found him. What will you do now? Admiral Kane's gaze turned cold. We rebuild what they destroyed, and we make sure no one ever forgets humanity again. The hologram faded, leaving silence. Hale sat down slowly, staring at the floor. They're really back, he whispered. Serac looked uncertain. Will they bring peace or war? Hale's voice was low. Maybe both. In the following weeks, humanity's return spread across the stars. Earth fleets entered systems one by one, silent, disciplined, unstoppable. They freed enslaved worlds, dismantled pirate networks, and crushed empires that ruled by cruelty. To some, they were saviors. To others, they were vengeance. The galaxy began to change. The Kortal watched helplessly as one stronghold after another fell. Entire planets surrendered without a fight. And then, one morning, a transmission reached every major power in the galaxy. A clear, calm human voice said, "You saved one of ours. For that, we thank you. But the rest of you, those who ruled with fear, will answer for it." Serac and Hale listened in silence. The message was short, but it shook the stars. The galaxy that had forgotten fear remembered it once again. The void trembled as the human fleet moved through it. Thousands of ships glided across black space in perfect formation. Their hulls were silver-gray, glowing with soft blue light. They carried no banners of conquest, no words of peace, only the emblem of Earth. From the bridge of the UES Resolute, Admiral Ilara Kane stood tall, her eyes fixed on the starfield. "Status report," she ordered. "All ships aligned. Warp gate stable. Every colony we freed is sending support," replied her officer. Ilara nodded. "Then we proceed. Humanity crosses the stars again. The fleet spread out like a wave, silent and unstoppable. Every ship moved with discipline, their weapons charged but hidden. Their goal was not to destroy, but to make the galaxy remember. Meanwhile, far away, Captain Ryan Hale and Serac had been summoned to meet the returning fleet. Their small ship approached the glowing wall of human vessels. Serac stared in awe. "They are beautiful," he whispered. "Like stars born from fire." Hale smiled faintly. "No, they're survivors, just like me." Docking clamps locked, and a human boarding crew entered. The soldiers wore dark armor with the Earth emblem on their shoulders. One of them saluted sharply. "Captain Hale, the Admiral is expecting you." When Hale stepped onto the bridge of the Resolute, memories flooded back. The sound of orders, the hum of engines, the unity of his people. Ilara turned as he entered. "You've been a long time away from home, Captain." "Home found me," Hale said with a small smile. Serac followed quietly, his glowing eyes scanning the room filled with humans. They looked at him with curiosity but no hatred. For the first time, Serac felt welcome among another species. Admiral Kane studied him. "You are the one who saved our man." Serac nodded slowly. "Yes, it was not the Empire's choice. It was mine." Ilara stepped closer. "Then you saved much more than a life. You saved a memory of who we are." The moment was silent, filled with mutual respect. Then the Admiral turned to the main screen. "You both need to see this." A map appeared. Dozens of red marks showing alien strongholds, slave worlds, and war stations. "Every one of these locations profits from suffering," Ilara said. "For centuries they ruled while we rebuilt in silence. Now we act." Hale watched, his expression hard. "You plan to strike them all?" Ilara nodded. "Swiftly, precisely. We do not seek empire but balance." Serac looked uneasy. "Balance through fire?" Ilara met his gaze. "Sometimes peace begins with fear." Soon after, the fleet began its campaign. The humans moved like shadows, using stealth drives and silent dropships. They didn't bomb cities. They disabled power, seized leaders, freed captives. For the first time in history, entire systems fell without bloodshed. But not all encounters were peaceful. Some empires refused to surrender. The Zerath Dominion sent fleets to challenge the humans near the Nibar belt. The battle lasted only 6 minutes. When it ended, space was silent. The message was clear. Humanity had returned, and they would not be ignored. Across the galaxy, people began painting the human emblem on their doors, believing it brought safety. Some called it protection. Others called it warning. On the Resolute, Hale stood beside Ilara as reports came in. "The galaxy is afraid," she said. "And that's good. Fear keeps them from war." Hale shook his head. "Fear is not peace, Admiral. You taught me once that mercy is our strength." Ilara's face softened. "And you taught the galaxy that kindness can survive the dark. But mercy has limits." Serac listened quietly. He could see the tension between them. The old soldier who still believed in hope, and the leader who carried the weight of a wounded world. Later that night, Hale walked alone through the ship's observation deck. Outside, stars stretched into infinity. He thought about Earth, the oceans, the people, the dreams that built this fleet. He thought about Serac's act of mercy on Varin 6, and how one choice had brought them all here. Serac joined him, standing silently beside the glass. "You do not sleep," he said. Hale smiled. "Too much noise in my head. What happens now?" "Now humanity decides what kind of legend we become." The next day, the fleet arrived at the Kortal border. Dozens of alien ships lined the space ahead, their weapons locked but trembling. Director Varun appeared on a holochannel. "Humans," he said, his voice shaking. "We wish no war," Admiral Kane replied calmly. "Then surrender your slave worlds. End the trade. Free those you control." Varun hesitated. "And if we refuse?" Ilara's voice turned cold. "Then we'll do it for you." The Kortal fleet opened fire. Beams of light cut through the dark. But the humans were ready. The first line of Earth ships turned their shields forward, returning precise, controlled blasts. Within minutes, the Kortal formation broke apart. Their flagship fell silent. When the smoke cleared, Hale looked at the wreckage. "They saved one human," he whispered. "Now humanity saves the galaxy, one world at a time." As the fleet moved deeper into alien space, the stars glowed with the reflection of human light. Everywhere they went, the same message was broadcast: We are the children of Earth. We return not as conquerors, but as the voice you tried to silence. But not all humans agreed with the Admiral's restraint. Some captains began to act on their own, spreading fire where they saw enemies. Hale saw it happening and feared what it meant. He turned to Serac. If we're not careful, we'll become the monsters they once feared. Serac nodded. Then maybe it is time for the galaxy and humanity to remember what mercy truly means. Outside, the fleet crossed another system, its engines glowing like a new dawn. The galaxy watched in silence as the children of Earth reclaimed the stars. They had once lost. The fleet that crossed the stars had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The stars burned red over the edge of the Orion Rim. The human fleet had been fighting for weeks, freeing one world after another. But the more they fought, the more resistance grew. Every victory seemed to awaken new enemies. The galaxy had begun to fear them, and that fear was spreading faster than any fire. On the bridge of the UES Resolute, Admiral Ilara Kane stood before the main display, watching a storm of signals flash across space. "Report," she ordered. Her officer's voice trembled. "Admiral, 7 alien coalitions have joined forces. They call themselves the Unity Front. They're gathering near the Trinar Expanse, more than 2,000 ships." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "So the galaxy finally unites. Against us." Captain Ryan Hale stepped forward. "Admiral, we should pull back. Humanity came to bring peace, not to start a war against everyone." Ilara turned slowly toward him. "We didn't start this, Captain. They did when they enslaved entire species. We finish what they began." Hale shook his head. "And what if finishing it means becoming like them?" Silence filled the bridge. No one dared to speak after that. Outside the viewport, the stars drifted by like cold witnesses to what was coming. Serac entered quietly, his tall silver form gleaming in the soft blue light. "Admiral Kane," he said, "the Unity Front is afraid. They believe humanity will not stop. Fear makes them dangerous." Ilara studied him. "And what would you have us do, Serac? Turn away? Let them rebuild their chains?" Serac's eyes glowed faintly. "Sometimes mercy is the sharpest blade." The words hung heavy in the air. Hours later, alarms blared through the fleet. "Incoming!" shouted the comms officer. Multiple warp signatures, massive energy readings. The Unity Front had arrived. Thousands of alien ships emerged from the dark, like a storm of glowing teeth. Each species brought its deadliest weapons. The fleet filled the void from one horizon to the other. Ilara raised her hand. "All ships, defensive formation. Do not fire unless fired upon." The command echoed through every vessel. The humans waited in perfect silence as the alien armada surrounded them. Then, without warning, beams of plasma and arcs of antimatter tore across space. The first human destroyer exploded into light. "Return fire!" Ilara shouted. The war began. For hours, the stars themselves seemed to burn. Human warships moved like shadows, their formations precise and deadly. Alien fleets tried to swarm them, but were cut down by coordinated strikes. Captain Hale led the vanguard through the thickest part of the battle. "Target engines, not lives," he ordered. "We are not here to kill, we are here to end this." But the chaos was too great. Missiles screamed, ships cracked apart, and entire fleets vanished in seconds. Serac watched from his post on the vanguard, horror in his eyes. "You cannot stop this," he said softly. "The galaxy will never forgive what it fears." Hale gritted his teeth. "Then we'll show them something greater than fear." He activated the ship's comms and opened a wide-channel broadcast to all fleets, human and alien alike. "This is Captain Ryan Hale of Earth," he said. "We came here because one of you showed mercy to a dying man. That act changed everything. We did not return for revenge. We returned to prove mercy still exists." For a moment, the firing slowed. Across hundreds of ships, commanders hesitated. The voice of one human reached across the chaos. But then, the enemy flagship fired a massive energy cannon straight toward the vanguard. "Brace for impact," Hale shouted. The blast hit, tearing through the shields. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed. The hull was cracking apart. Serac moved quickly, throwing Hale aside just as a console exploded. Flames filled the command deck. "Serac!" Hale shouted, crawling through the smoke. The alien's body sparked with energy burns, his voice weak. "Do not stop what we began." Outside, the Resolute charged forward, covering the Vanguard with heavy fire. Ilara's eyes were cold, her jaw set. "All ships, protect the Vanguard. Pull them out!" The humans regrouped. Drones released repair swarms, and the Vanguard was towed back behind the lines. But even as the human fleet held together, the enemy kept coming. The battle lasted a full solar cycle. When it ended, half the sky was filled with debris, burning ships, drifting wrecks, silent cries of 1,000 crews. The humans had won, but barely. Dozens of their ships were gone. Thousands of lives lost. The Unity front was shattered, but so was the hope of peace. Ilara stood on the bridge, looking at the wreckage. "We won," her officer whispered. "No," she said quietly. "We survived." Later, Hale woke in the medbay, his body wrapped in bandages. He looked around, searching. "Serac, where is he?" No one answered. Only silence. He turned toward the viewport. Outside, the stars burned softly, cold and endless. He remembered Serac's words, "Mercy is the sharpest blade," and felt the weight of what humanity had done. They had saved worlds, freed millions, but in doing so, they had awakened a war that could not be stopped. Admiral Kane entered the room. "You did good, Captain," she said. Hale shook his head. "No, we've become the story they feared we'd be." Ilara sighed. "Maybe, but history will remember who struck first." As she left, Hale whispered to himself, "And who lost their soul last?" Outside the window, the human fleet drifted through the remains of the battlefield. Thousands of silent ships moving toward an uncertain dawn. For the first time, the galaxy had seen the true strength of humanity. But it also saw something else, something colder, quieter, and far more dangerous, because once war begins, even the saviors can become destroyers. And deep in the shadows of the dying stars, something was still watching, waiting for humanity's next move. The war they could not stop had only just begun. The battlefield was quiet now. Wrecked ships drifted across the black ocean of space like ghosts, their twisted metal glimmering in the soft light of distant suns. Humanity had survived the greatest war the galaxy had ever seen, but victory felt hollow. The UES Resolute moved slowly through the debris field, its engines humming like a heartbeat in the silence. Inside, every corridor felt heavy. Soldiers whispered, engineers worked in silence, and medbays were full of those who would never see Earth again. Admiral Ilara Kane stood alone in the command deck, staring at the holographic map of the ruined front. "So many worlds saved," she murmured, "and so many lost." Captain Ryan Hale entered, still recovering from his injuries. His uniform was torn, his face tired but his eyes steady. "The fleets are standing by, Admiral," he said. "But the question is, what now?" Ilara didn't answer. She just stared at the map, where red lights marked the systems that had fallen. Then she whispered, "Now we decide what kind of humans we want to be." Hale looked at her carefully. "We can't keep fighting. The galaxy's afraid of us. If we strike again, we become the same monsters they once were." Ilara turned toward him. "And if we walk away, everything we built will collapse. You saw what they did to the weak, Captain. You saw what mercy cost." Hale clenched his fists. "I also saw what vengeance cost." Before either could say more, the comms alarm sounded. "Admiral, incoming transmission." The signal was weak, filled with static. "Source," Ilara demanded. The officer frowned. "It's impossible, ma'am." "It's coming from Varin 6, Hale's breath caught. "That's where Serac died," Ilara ordered. "Put it through." The screen flickered, showing a ruined planet under red skies. A lone figure stood among the ashes, tall, silver, his body burned, but his eyes glowing softly. Hale stepped closer. "Serac?" The alien's voice was faint but steady. "Humanity's fire reached farther than you know." "I'm alive!" "But not alone." The camera shifted, revealing hundreds of aliens, former slaves, soldiers, and refugees standing behind him. Some held tools, others weapons. The ones you freed built something new, Serac continued. A place where no chain exists. But the war left scars. Many fear the humans will return as conquerors. Ilara spoke softly. We came to bring freedom, not fear. Serac looked directly into the camera. Then show it. Come not with fleets, but with hands open. The signal faded. Silence filled the bridge. Ilara turned to Hale. Prepare a small delegation. No weapons. We go to Varin 6. Hours later, the Resolute entered the orbit of the ruined world. The once burning fields were now covered with strange new structures, half alien, half human in design. It was a symbol of what mercy could create. When Ilara, Hale, and a small team landed, they were met by Serac himself. His body was scarred, but his spirit unbroken. You kept your promise, Hale said quietly. Serac smiled faintly. And you kept your humanity. He led them through the settlement. Humans and aliens worked side by side, rebuilding cities, tending crops, teaching children. The sound of laughter echoed through the dusty air. This is what the galaxy needs to see, Serac said. Not your fleets. Your heart. Ilara watched a group of alien children playing with a human officer. For the first time in years, she smiled. Perhaps this is the real victory. But far above the planet, things were changing. Reports came in from the outer sectors, massive energy readings, movements in deep space. An officer's voice came through the comm. Admiral, unidentified objects entering from beyond the galactic rim. They're not ours. Not any known species. Ilara's smile faded. How many? Thousands, ma'am. Maybe more. Hale looked up at the sky, his heart sinking. After all this, another war? Serac placed a hand on his shoulder. Maybe not. Maybe it's another chance to choose who you are. Ilara contacted the fleet. All ships, hold position. We don't fire until we know what we're facing. Moments later, the blackness of space rippled, and from it emerged enormous vessels of unknown design, sleek and silent. A voice echoed through every frequency in the system. We watched your war. We saw your mercy. We come to ask for alliance. The bridge erupted in stunned silence. Humanity had returned with fleets, fought gods, and faced extinction, but now others were reaching out to them. Ilara exhaled slowly. Then perhaps, she said, this was never about conquest. It was about proving what kind of species we could become. Serac smiled faintly. The galaxy finally listens. As the human and alien ships aligned across the skies of Varin 6, Hale looked at the horizon. The suns were rising, two brilliant lights breaking through the clouds. He whispered, they saved one human once. And now humanity saves more than worlds. It saves hope. Ilara turned to him, her voice soft but proud. Let this be our message to the stars. The fleet's lights ignited one by one, forming a pattern across the night. A symbol not of war, but of unity. The lost had returned, and the children of Earth had finally become the defenders of the galaxy. And for the first time in centuries, the stars no longer burned with fear. They shone with peace.